We need a bit of height. So we need a bit of egg brushing. Camera things. Well, happy Mother's Day to all you mothers and grandmothers and spiritual mothers. It's a wonderful day, and won't it be lovely to see the children there take part. Now, when Katie said that sentence, you know, because you never know what we're going to grow up to be, what God's plan will be for our lives. Some of us may be evangelists, some of us will be pastors. Oh no, it brought a little tear to my eye, because you know, they're so precious. And I know on this day, you know, we remember mothers and our mothers, but you know, it's a day where we're just so blessed by our children, you know, and we do need to pray for them, we do need to encourage them, because, you know, they're growing up now, they are becoming little disciples, and, you know, let's get alongside them as a church and just encourage them. So this morning, you know, you would think this Mother's Day, oh, she'll talk on a woman of the Bible and mother. Well, I'm not. Actually, I'm going to talk about a man. Just to balance it up, Edward, just so you know. And it's a very well-known man, and it's a very well-known passage of scripture. I'm going to read Exodus chapter 3. Now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the far side of the desert and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within a bush. Moses saw that though the bush was on fire, it did not burn up. So Moses thought, I will go over and see this strange sight, why the bush does not burn up. When the Lord saw that he had gone over to look, God called to him from within the bush, Moses, Moses. And Moses said, Here I am. Do not come any closer, God said. Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. Then he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. At this Moses hid his face, because he was afraid to look at God. The Lord said, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of the land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the home of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. And now the cry of the Israelites has reached me, and I have seen the way the Egyptians are oppressing them. So now go, I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. But Moses said to God, Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? And God said, I will be with you, and this will be the sign to you, that it is I who have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain. Moses said to God, Suppose I go to the Israelites and say to them, The God of your fathers has sent me to you, and they ask me, What is his name? And what shall I tell them? God said to Moses, I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites, I am has sent me to you. God also said to Moses, Say to the Israelites, The Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has sent me to you. This is my name forever, the name by which I am to be remembered from generation to generation. Go assemble the elders of Israel and say to them, The Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, appeared to me and said, I have watched over you and have seen what has been done to you in Egypt, and I have promised to bring you out of your misery in Egypt into a land that is flowing with milk and honey. I'll just get over there. You know, we all know, you know, even people who don't come to church, if you said name somebody, you know, that you know in the Bible, they would probably say Moses. You know, he's such a well-known character. And we can think of him as this mighty man of God who's done great things. But this morning I want to look at, you know, where God calls him. And, you know, I love reading accounts where we see that these mighty men of God were just like me, were just like you. They had, things, they had weaknesses, they had, things that they didn't always say to God, yes, Lord, I'll do that. And we're going to see that in Moses this morning. But I just want to give you that little background of his birth. Remember that miraculous birth, the time his mother was about to give birth, when Pharaoh had just ordered that all baby boys would be killed. They would be thrown into the Nile. And Moses' mother, Jochebed, she gives birth, and it's a baby boy. And as all mothers know, you don't want to give your child up. And so she'd done whatever it took to hide that baby, to keep him. And it says that when the time came that she could hide him no longer, she put him in this little basket, she put him among the reeds, and he floated down the Nile. And lo and behold, who finds him but Pharaoh's daughter? And just at that moment, the baby cries, and it tells us she has compassion on the baby, and she takes the baby as her own. She needs a nursemaid to look after him. And who else comes along but Jochebed, Moses' real mother? It's such a miraculous beginning to a life. And God had a plan for Moses' life right from the very beginning. The call of Jeremiah was very much the same. God says to Jeremiah, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. I chose you. I set you apart. God has a plan for each and every one of our lives. He's had his hand upon us right from the very beginning of time. Even the times when you didn't know him, he knew you. And he had his hand on your life. And the time between this miraculous birth to this time now in chapter 3 where God is calling him, Moses wasn't perfect. And that's why I said earlier, it's so nice to identify with people in the Bible who were just like us. He was far from perfect. He committed a murder that made him have to flee from Egypt. He had to run away. He had to become a fugitive. And it tells us he goes to a place called Midian. He stays with someone called Jethro. He marries one of Jethro's daughters, and they have children. And now, at this point, on this day, when he's just a shepherd, when he's tending his sheep, it's 40 years later. And God just wants to say this morning, don't give up, on the people that you've prayed for, maybe family members, and you think, well, they had such, we brought them up, they were born into this world, and God had such plans for them, as we do for all our children, and we don't know what direction our children are going to go in. And sometimes we think, Lord, where are you in the plan in their life? And look at Moses, 40 years it took for God to say, now I want to use you. Now I want you to do this for me. And I just believe God says, well, don't give up on those people. I spoke to Eileen this morning, and she said, it'd be lovely if Bryn could come. Moses was 80 years old. Don't ever give up on your friends. In fact, God doesn't give up on us. He will always give us that opportunity and that chance. You see, that plan that God had for Moses right at the beginning of time, right at the beginning of his birth, that plan to keep him safe, not to let him die like all those other baby boys, was for such a time as this. God's plan was that Moses was to rescue his people out of slavery and bondage and lead them into a land of freedom. And this is the same plan that Jesus wants for each and every one of our lives. He wants to take us from a life of being bound by fear, of a life of being bound by sickness and by the things of this world. And he wants us to experience